What's up everyone? Today we're going to be talking about this beautiful bike right here, the Corvus Skookum AF. So I had originally filmed me basically taking this bike out of the box and building it up and talking about my impressions, but I felt like that's kind of a boring way to look at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick overview on this bike, what makes me so excited about it, what I think is cool. We'll go over the components, don't worry, but then we're going to take it for a ride. And it's kind of a interesting time of year right now. We've had a lot of snow up here and it's also been kind of warm, so gonna encounter some mud, but there is still snow on the ground, so we'll get some of that in here too. But let's talk about the bike. So if you don't know who Corvus is, they were originally called Fatback Bikes. They changed their name, I think last year, or maybe the year before. They have a bike called the Skookum, and it is a carbon bike. It's a good fat bike. It's been around for a while, and you know, good things about it. But this is the Skookum AF, as you can see right here. And they say it stands for aluminum frame, or whatever you want to call it. And that's because this bike is really geared towards riding on the dirt. It's a more of a rowdy fat bike. I think right off the bat, let's jump into the numbers here. So it's got a 66.2 degree head tube angle, 445 chain stays, which are not adjustable. That's something I don't normally love, but it's not the end of the world. The seat tube angle is 76 degrees. It's pretty steep, which is good. It gets you a little more forward, especially with this longer reach. The reach is 475 on this. You can tell, you know, that's a pretty big reach. This is a 20-inch or the large. And then the stack though is 672. So very upright riding position, which is really cool. I think that's one of the things that makes this very interesting for a fat bike. The geometry is just super modern. So this bike, when Corvus originally, I was talking to them about getting this in for review, they said please make sure you get it on dirt. That's the main focus of this bike. I am going to take it on some groomed trails and obviously hit some of the snow that we still have, but it is really geared towards the dirt and towards rowdier riding. This is the GX Eagle build, and it has the 52 tooth on the back. And then up front, we've got a 30 tooth chainring. I think that's a really good combo for a fat bike. You're pushing bigger tires, so you need a little bit lower gearing. It's running the Manitou Mastodon Pro and the 120. Really great fork, obviously. This is kind of the top of the line fork for most people. These wheels are not stock. These are an upgrade that you can get. These are Corvus's own Big Sue carbon wheels. They're 81 millimeters, so a little bit wider than I typically ride, and they've got the Yippee-ki-yays on them, so 27.5 by 4.3. Love this tire, very good choice for the dirt. For brakes, we're running Hayes Dominions. I've never run Hayes. I'm excited. I've heard really good things about them, and man, do I love just being able to adjust the lever pull where it's sitting over here. We've also got a PNW dropper on it. I don't actually know what size this is. To me it looks like a 170, but it might be more. It doesn't actually say on their website, but I'll do some digging, figure that out. The GX comes in around 4,000 with aluminum wheels, but it's got some really nice touches. It's got their dive bar, which is a carbon bar. It's got a Paul Components stem right there, and then it's got the Cane Creek Hellbender. If you don't know what the Hellbender 70 is, this is basically their it's not the lowest, the 40, and it's not the 110. It's kind of a mix of both, and it's meant for those who kind of abuse their bike. It's got stainless steel bearings, and then it's really well sealed. And so if you're someone who's rough on a bike or rides it in muddier conditions, this is probably what you're gonna be pretty excited about, because it's a little more reliable. So anyways, let's get this out on the ride. That's way too much talking, and I'm excited. Let's go try it. All right, so right off the bat, the first thing I notice, very upright riding position. Can definitely tell that stack is just way high, but it feels good, especially given the longer reach. This is something I could ride, at least right now it feels like I could ride this all day very comfortably. Whew. Just finished up a pretty big climb, and feels good. Feels pretty balanced. I think those chain stays being a little longer. They're really not that long for a fat bike. 445 is still pretty short. But those and the longer wheelbase and everything keeps it pretty planted. I don't really feel the front end wandering too much, so that's a good sign. All right, here we go. This is a fun kind of loopy downhill, but it is east facing, so it's going to be interesting. Woo. Boy. It is so slick because it's wet. It's soft. Oh man, these are good tires. Oh, goodness. Okay. That was interesting. That was fun. Feels really confident though. I mean, this is really slick right now, and the front end, when you're at speed, you do feel really stable. It's not twitchy like, say, the Muckluck would be. Even my Mare is a little twitchier than that. It's a good test right here. You know, the front end feels planted. Feels really good. The back tire slipped a little bit, but these are really loose conditions. That was me sliding to the side in the back. With this steep seat tube angle, it's not hard to keep weight on the back while still being able to reach the front. Holy cow. That fell through. I just took like a 45-minute detour. Was hiking through, I don't know, like with not waist, thigh deep snow that was unrideable. Not very fun. My feet are cold. And this is making me so excited for summer. Can't wait to see how this does with 29 plus on it. The dry trails. I mean, I'm also going to ride it fat on dry trails, but 29 plus is my main setup for it. Ooh, this is muddy. Man, I was hoping it'd be more dried out, less mud. A little bit of dirt. Oh yeah, that feels good. Both being on dirt and this bike. Front end feels so good. Oh, that's weird. All right, so I'm back in my shop. I've got the bike a little cleaned up. It wasn't as dirty as I actually expected it to be, but yeah, cleaned it up a little bit. So let's talk about my first impressions, what I thought from this first ride. Was it the ideal ride? No, not really. It wasn't really snow and it wasn't really dirt. It was kind of a mix of mud and water and slushy snow. But that said, I still have initially very good impressions. It was more balanced of a bike than I thought. As I spoke with Corvus, they told me, this is really designed and intended for riding on dirt and riding aggressively and riding hard. When they said that, that made me a little bit worried about how it was gonna do in the snow. That's one reason fat bikes have the geometry they do. They're not as modern and aggressive because typically you're not riding as fast, you're not riding as hard or on as steep of obstacles, things like that. I was a little bit worried that with the more modern geometry, it was gonna handle not great. It would feel sluggish, it would be fighting steering the whole time. It didn't really feel like that. That really means they did a good job on the way they designed it and how they balanced things out in the geometry side of things. I think the component choices were really smart. Really liked that 30-tooth chainring on the front. I think it does a good job there. You still get some top end. You might think a 30-tooth is really small if you're a normal mountain biker, but it's really helpful on this setup. A lot of times If I'm not running, if I don't have this 52 tooth back here, I usually use a 28 tooth in the front. So that 30 tooth was a good balance there. I think this bike, I'm really gonna be able to put to the test once I get onto dirt. And even, you know, I'm still gonna go test it on some groomed trails to see how it does there, because again, a fat bike, for most people, they want it to be a 4-season bike. And if it's gonna suffer a ton on the snow, that might be a deal breaker for some people. If I had to pick one thing off the bat that I didn't like about it, this seat tube is fairly tall. The standover isn't as low as I would have hoped. And with this seat tube coming up so far, this doesn't drop out of the way as much as I thought. I know initially I said I thought it was maybe a 170 on here, but I don't think it is. I think it's a 150. It's noticeably not dropping as far as some of my other bikes where the saddle is way more out of the way and I'm able to move the bike around a lot more. It's not horrible by any means. It's just I expected it to drop farther than it did. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, enjoyed coming along for the ride and the breakdown of the Corvus Skookum AF. If you want to know more, I've put a link down in the description so you can go check out the bike, read all about it. I will be doing more of a long-term review over the next couple months and testing it on the snow that we get, and we should get into some dirt eventually. This seems like the longest winter we've ever had, but we will be getting into some dirt for sure. I'm even gonna try it in 29 plus, see how it does there. So if you wanna see that video, be sure to subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what your first impressions are from this video and from checking out their website. But that's all I've got for today, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.